Turn things over to Morgan Mackay. She has been in the courtroom for days following this. Morgan, your take on everything happening today is you've been giving us live updates nonstop following this. So walk us through your reaction. I guess you have been seeing firsthand the reaction from former President Donald Trump as well as his team and the prosecution.
Exactly, Steve and Natasha. So let me walk you through exactly sort of what happened. So around 4:15, the judge came out and said that he's going to be dismissing the jury at around 4:30. Then he came back in at about 4:35, and he said that the jury had reached a verdict. Everyone in the courtroom gasped. Some reporters had already started to pack up, were getting ready to leave. So this caught everyone a little bit by surprise. But they said they needed an extra 30 minutes. When the jury came in, everyone was quiet. Trump stared straight ahead. He didn't look at the jury, and he just stared with his arms folded, staring straight ahead. Now, Blanche, his attorney, Todd Blanche, while the verdict was being read, he put his head in his hands a few times throughout the verdict. Then they went through each charge. So there's 34 felony charges that Trump was facing. And this made up the 34 checks and invoices that prosecutors say that Trump falsified in order to provide hush money payments. So pretty much this case boils down to prosecutors say that Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, paid Stormy Daniels, an adult film star actress, $130,000 to keep quiet about her alleged sexual encounter with Trump ahead of the 2016 election. Now, they say that when he falsely logged these checks and invoices, when he repaid Michael Cohen as legal expenses. Now, the jurors had to do two things to convict Trump. They had to unanimously decide that Trump falsified all 34 business records, so all 34 checks and invoices, and then they say that he did so in order to conceal a second crime, which prosecutors allege was a conspiracy to aid an election by unlawful means. So the judge read out each one of the 34 counts, and the jury convicted him of each one. All 34. They said he was guilty. Then the judge dismissed him, and then they decided to set sentencing to July 11th. His attorney Blanche asked that they push this back to mid or end July, but because Trump has other court obligations right now, he's facing numerous other court trials while this is going on. So the judge decided to set the date to July 11th. Blanche also tried to push back and ask for a mistrial, since he said that Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, that he lied on the stand, committed perjury, but that motion was denied. So again, all 34 counts Trump was found guilty of. As Trump was leaving the courtroom, he had a very serious expression on his face. He reached back and patted his lawyer, but he looked very upset, actually. And I hadn't really seen that from him throughout this entire trial, but he did look a bit emotional as he left the courtroom, and he stared straight ahead. Usually he makes eyes at reporters, he says different things to them, or he'll make motions. Today, straight ahead, and he left the courtroom. Steve and Natasha, back to you.
Yeah, Morgan, as you are one of the very few people that have been inside this, watching this firsthand, what was your first reaction? As I'm sure you talked to other people around you when that verdict was reached. Did you have any inclination that it could go one way or the other?
So speaking to a lot of the reporters around me, I felt like we really thought that this verdict was going to be handed down tomorrow. We felt like today was sort of wrapped up. So when that verdict was announced that it was going to be happening, everyone was really surprised. But at the same time, I also think that a lot of people were expecting a conviction because of how ambiguous the second charge that they had to convict him on. So they not only had to convict that he falsified business records, but they also had to say that he did so because he wanted to help his chances in the election, and he did so by unlawful means. Now, the jury didn't have to agree on what unlawful means those were, so it did kind of open it up a little bit to make it easier for the jury to come to a decision altogether. But again, I think there was more of an expectation of a hung jury than a full conviction on all 34 counts, but there was an understanding that if there was a conviction on one, a lot of people guessed it would be a conviction on all 34.
Yeah, no, indeed, Morgan. It certainly was surprising. You sort of touched on what I was going to ask you, too. Obviously, you're surrounded by some of the most seasoned court reporters, court watchers, expecting like exactly what you thought was going to come down with the verdict. But I think you just said it right there, that we thought there was going to be some sort of mixed verdict as opposed to guilty on all 34 was certainly the conventional wisdom going into today.
Exactly. I think a lot of people thought that there was going to be a mix, but it's sort of hard. I mean, if you have 34 checks and invoices, they're all sort of the same thing. There was different parts where they came from. So some were invoices, some came from Trump's trust, some came from his personal account, some he signed, some were logged by other people. So I think a lot of people were just a little confused if they might maybe say, oh, well, the checks that came from him, those we're going to convict him on, but maybe those that were signed by Donald Trump Jr., for example, those maybe wouldn't convict him on. But again, they found him guilty of all 34. They believed that he was behind having, for example, Donald Trump Jr. sign those checks. So I think people were a little bit surprised, but overall, people were just watching the jury so closely as this verdict was read. And a lot of them, they didn't really look at Trump while the verdict was being read. They were sort of darting back and forth between the press a little bit and the judge, but mostly staying focused on the judge. I think they really understood the weight of the assignment. And that is actually one thing I want to add about the jury themselves. They paid so close attention throughout this trial. They took notes throughout the entire trial. They were furiously scribbling. I didn't see any of them really doze off ever during the trial. And there were parts that did get a little bit tedious at times. So I would just say this is probably the most attentive of a jury that I've ever seen at a trial.
Well, all right, Morgan, we appreciate it.